In this video, I'm going to talk about how to not mess up this crypto cycle. So I felt the need to make this video because currently there's a lot of fear in the markets and a lot of people are very uncertain and some people are even panic selling. So I'll explain exactly how you don't mess up this cycle because, you know, a lot of people look at previous cycles, like for example, 2021, and they see this run up, but more specifically, just in altcoins, right? They see this giant move where, the crypto space goes up 1.3 thousand% and they're like, okay, this is easy. Everyone makes money in crypto. How do people not make how does everyone not make money, right? But a lot of people don't make money, and I'll explain exactly how you can be one of the people who actually makes money from this move and are not one of the people who end up losing money, right? Or end up not making that much. So I got, a couple points that you need to listen to in order to not mess up this crypto cycle. So let's get into it. So first of all, this is extremely important. You don't want to panic sell. That's the worst thing you can do, right? Right now, the market's getting hit pretty hard and a lot of people are scared. So the way to not mess this up is simply not selling, right? This is something very similar to what happened back in August 2024. There was a lot of people were talking about recessions here, right? Everyone was talking about a recession. There's max fear. And look what happened to the price when you go forwards to December, when you just go forwards a little bit, right? It's much higher. It always feels like it's completely over at these prices and that, it will never go up again. But all you have to do is hold, right? Ideally, you buy more here, but realistically, all you have to do is hold to make money. It's really not that complicated. It's extremely important to not panic sell and zoom out, right? 50% dips are extremely normal. If if we're speaking about Bitcoin, Bitcoin usually doesn't fall 50%, but the amount of times this asset falls, 30% is is extremely high. Like here, it fell 32%. Right now it's down. It fell, 31%. That's extremely normal. That's literally the exact same thing as here, right? But if you look at, some other charts, like a lot of people are altcoin holders, some of these charts got hit a bit harder, right? But also, this is quite normal as well, right? A 66% correction for, one of the top altcoins is not that crazy. If you look at previous cycles, it's happened to other coins, right? If we look at, Avalanche, like these kind of dips are normal. Like I don't have the full chart here, but here there was a 63% correction, right? These corrections are extremely normal. I mean, let's just look at one here. This thing fell 74% and then it went back to all-time highs. Like this is extremely normal price movements. So it's important to realize this because in crypto, you basically have to pay the price of volatility for life-changing returns. You can't expect to make huge returns and not be able to handle the volatility. So it shakes out the weak hands before the big moves usually, right? So two is an important point where basically all you have to do is just hold good tokens. To maximize this move, right, like we talked about this last cycle where we saw, altcoin market cap go up a lot, all you have to do is just hold some of the winning coins. Now, I can make a different video on how to identify some of the winning coins and winning narratives, but all you have to do is just hold these, not panic sell, and ideally buy more during the dips, and you'll capture most of this move, right? If you don't want to take any risk, you just buy Bitcoin, maybe some Solana, and some ETH, right? Keep it low risk, or go high risk depending on your risk tolerance. But basically, all you need is just a few winners and chill. You just need to have enough conviction in the coins that you own so that you're not one of these people who ends up panic selling at the bottom, right? You don't want to be the people who, panic sell here, then you start buying here, then you panic sell here, right? Like you don't want to be that guy who just panic selling because they have no conviction. So you need a few good coins that you have conviction in. And you don't want to be chasing hype. That's extremely important, right? Now you want to ask yourself, is this a low or a high? So we all know the classic example when your Uber driver starts talking about crypto, it's usually the top. So I think a lot of people remember when Trump launched his coin, everyone's talking about Solana ecosystem, everyone's talking about meme coins. That's what the top is when everyone's excited and everyone's talking about it. So ask yourself, where are we right now? Are we at a top? Are we at a low or a high? Right? When everyone is quiet, upset, and calling crypto a scam, that's often the bottom. If you look at the sentiment, people right now are talking about recessions. People are saying like every coin is a scam. So I think it's pretty likely that we're at a low, right? It might not be the final low. It might go lower, but overall, it's definitely a low. I mean, if we look at the RSI, right? We go to the RSI here, relative strength index. Sorry, one second. We can see that, right? It's at 32, which is quite low. It's almost complete. It's almost oversold, right? So these are levels you don't want to be selling at. This is for Solana, right? And here, if it goes over 70, it's usually levels to be selling at, right? You want to be buying when it's oversold, and you want to be selling when it's overbought. So right now, it's pretty clearly a low, and the best entries are often when it feels uncomfortable. That's how you know it's a good time to get in, right? Sentiment can often be used as a compass to see when it's time to get in and when it's time to sell. You want to do the opposite of what people are doing, right? We talked about how most people don't make money in the crypto cycle, and that's because they do what everyone else is doing. You have to do what everyone else is not doing. That means buying when everyone's scared and selling when everyone's excited. So this adds on to the previous point, but you want to be buying when people are scared, right? There's a lot of opportunity when you're able to see the opportunity that people are scared of, right? Fear causes people to sell at ridiculously low prices, right? Nothing has fundamentally changed from a lot of these assets. Like let's say you have a lot of conviction in the Solana ecosystem, as I do myself, and nothing has fundamentally changed with Solana ecosystem. There's still good dApps being built, great applications being built. The team hasn't gone anywhere, right? It's still a fundamentally good ecosystem, but the price is much cheaper. So there is no reason to be selling here, and you will actually so the market actually will punish you being impatient and not being able to wait for the move up. You make money by being early, by seeing things when others don't see it. And if it feels scary to buy, you're probably doing it right. And then another important point is you want to be able to take profits, right? Right now is not the time to be taking profits, but you also have to be the person who doesn't round trip the entire thing, right? That's the final part. We looked at, all right, let's go back to the previous cycle. You know, First of all, you want to be able to capture the move up, and this means not panic selling and not selling when everything gets scary. But also, you want to be able to not get too excited and end up round tripping the whole move, right? So I'll make another video, but right now you don't really need to pay attention to when to sell because right now the main thing is just not selling into the fear. And then I'll talk about this final idea here, which will basically help you determine, when to buy and when to sell. And this is this idea of USDT dominance. All right, this chart here, USDT dominance. So USDT dominance, so if you don't know, USDT is a stable coin, and basically the dominance indicates how risk on the market is. So the higher USDT is, that means people are risk off and are holding a lot of stable coins because they don't want exposure to the market. So you can see here during the bear market, it was much higher. And then when people, the local top was here. So when people were more exposed to the market, basically you want to be buying when it's high and selling when it's low. So, right now it's nearing some of the resistance levels from August when we saw the bottom last time on Bitcoin, right? If you line up these two charts, you can see it's very similar, right? You have August 2024 was the bottom for Bitcoin, and you had August 2024 was also the top here. So when it starts reaching some of these levels, it's usually time to buy. And then when it starts reaching these lower levels, like back here, it's time to start taking profits. And probably during a bull market, you would probably expect Like at the top of the cycle, I'd probably expect us to start hitting some of these 2.3% lines over here, and that would probably be a good time where you want to be, taking most of your money out of the markets when it gets really risk on, because that means almost everyone has their money in the markets, and there's not a lot of new capital that can flow in. So it's very important to understand that. And then finally, you want to be just understanding global liquidity. And, you know, basically global liquidity is what moves crypto. And I'll make a separate, I've already made a video, but I can make a separate video on why global liquidity is going up this year. If you want to check out that video, it's called is why you should buy the dip, or should you buy the dip. That video I explained the global liquidity and why it's going up this year. And basically, price reacts to global liquidity. So you want to be watching what actually creates global liquidity. So yeah, with these 7 ideas, you're going to ensure that you don't mess up this crypto cycle, because this is a huge opportunity, right? But it's also very easy to mess up. As we talked about, most people don't, make the most out of this opportunity, and some people even lose money. So you want to know these things so that doesn't happen to you. So yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like the video,